Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order of the Redistricting Task Force and this public hearing as we move forward with the redistricting of single-member districts. Beginning in May of 2023, the city of Fort Worth will move from 8 single-member districts to 10. And every 10 years, of course, the city undergoes the process of redistricting. So first, on behalf of everyone here on the task force, on behalf of the city council, on behalf of all the residents and citizens of Fort Worth, thank you for being here. We have a great turnout in terms of a public hearing on redistricting. Some folks say that it is a very detailed process, and it is. And many of you here have looked at the maps and the demographic data and then played with the software. And I'm so grateful and thankful that you are involved in this process because the city belongs to you, right? We work for you. The city council works for you. And thank you very much for being here. So with that, I'm going to move forward with our agenda. So our first item up is approval of the minutes from the January 6th meeting. The chair will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from the January 6th meeting. Motion's been made by Ms. Hermosillo to approve the minutes. Is there a second? There's been a second made over here by Mr. Bradshaw. Any discussion? All in favor of approve the minutes, say aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Okay, now we get to the heart of the matter today, our public hearing, which is our public presentation. So each speaker signed up today will speak for 3 minutes. Those of you watching on TV or online, you can also submit online comments to us on the task force. You can email Fernando Costa. Fernando, stand up so people know who you are. He's the assistant city manager helping us with redistricting. You can email him at Fernando, FERNANDO.Costa, COSTA, at Fort Worth, all spelled out, Texas.gov, all right? That's how you can email him with your comments on redistricting maps, okay? So if you're not able to be present today, you can email him and he will distribute your comments to all of us here on the task force. With that then, we're ready to hear public comment on these maps. So we start with, on the phone, Andrea West. Ms. West, if you're on phone, we're happy. Oh, you're calling her right now. All right.
Ms. West?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Welcome, Ms. West. Please speak.
Hi. Hi, my name is Andrea West. I'm calling. I wanted to call in because I am a new resident to the South Fort Worth area. I just purchased a home in the Crowley area. My daughter goes to Crowley ISD, so I'm not too familiar. I'm originally from Ohio, so I'm not too sure about how independent school districts work. So I just wanted more to say that I know that I am in Council District 6, and I did review the maps that were chosen, and the only maps that looked like it kept where I live and where I just bought my home is in the maps created by Fernando Flores. I believe it's two maps. You have to forgive me. I'm on the way to the airport to pick up my dad, so I don't have the map letters in mind. But I just wanted to make sure those two maps created by Fernando Flores were given much consideration. Again, my main concern is not staying in the school district. Like I said, I'm not from this area, so I'm not sure how that works. But I just purchased a home here. I chose my home because it's in Crowley ISD, and I would hate to have that change by any redistricting that my neighborhood didn't get to be a part of, didn't get to choose to stay a neighborhood because we're still a developing neighborhood. So we didn't get to submit to the city to say, hey, we're a neighborhood, we want to be considered as one neighborhood, we don't want to be split up. So unfortunately, I bought my house too late before that could be put in, but that's my comment. If there's any clarification that anyone would like to provide for how this works when it comes to the school district, I am all ears. I'll try sending some emails to the District 6 Jared Williams office. I haven't heard back yet, but yeah, that's all I really wanted to input.
Right. Ms. West, thank you for your comments, and I would advise you, in addition to council members, if you could email any additional comments to Assistant City Manager Fernando Costa at fernando.costa, C-O-S-T-A, at Fort Worth, Texas, all spelled out, .gov, and he will also share those comments to the entire task force. I appreciate your time, and then I'll just ask staff, what were the maps submitted by Mr. Flores? I think if you can elaborate on that, Mr. Costa. Thank you, Ms. West. Appreciate your comments. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, the map submitted by Mr. Fernando Flores on behalf of the United Hispanic Council are the maps designated as maps E and Z. I think it's important to note that nothing to be done by this redistricting task force or by the Fort Worth City Council will affect the boundaries of independent school districts. Independent school districts have boundaries that are established by the state legislature, and those boundaries will not change as a result of redistricting.
Yeah, I think she wanted to keep her community of interest together within Crowley ISD, together in the presently configured District 6 is what I get out of it. And then I thought Mr. Flores also had another map I, so I think that was the other one, or at least with the United Hispanic Council. But I think what I understood Ms. West to say is that she wanted to keep her community interest in District 6 within the Crowley ISD intact, and we understand that. All right, so let's move on. The next caller, the next speaker is Ariela Villa. Let's dial her phone number. And I want to thank our in-person
Villa?
folks. Go ahead.
Ms. Villa,
Yes.
you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Ms. Villa, welcome to Redistricting Task Force Public Hearing. Please speak, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ariela Villa. I'm a born and raised District 2 Northsider, currently residing in Hemphill Heights, Southside District 9. And Mr. Chairman and task force members, it's time for Hispanics in the South Side of Fort Worth to have a voice in our city government. As a 53% Latinx community in the South Side, I support the creation of a Hispanic Opportunity District in the South Side, as well as an independent redistricting committee overseeing how the lines are drawn. And that's all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Villa, for your comments. Appreciate them very much.
Okay.
Have a good evening. All right, next up is Mr. Fernando Flores.
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
you have 3 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Welcome, Mr. Flores. Please speak to the task force and to the public.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Redistricting Task Force. My name is Fernando Flores, and I reside at 2740 Camp Hill here in Fort Worth in City Council District 9. This redistricting process has been grueling. Many of us recognize that and want to thank you, city staff, and others who have been involved for your hard work. I represent the United Hispanic Council, and prior to your last meeting, last Thursday, I sent you information on the reasons why we created or tried to create or presented maps to create a Hispanic Opportunity District in the South Side. That is the only place in this city where that can be done, and with a 25% Hispanic population in the 2020 census, we think it's time to create that district. We are calling it District 10. The South Side, again, is the only place that can be created. There's enough population there to do that, and this is the only place. And I want to make sure everybody understands that in creating that district, we are not retrogressing the African-American population or representation. We've looked at more than just raw data. We've looked at demographic, socioeconomic demographic data, rather than just a voting age or VAP population. to draw our maps. We looked at how precincts perform during elections, at the education and income level of the majority of the population, and most importantly, how precincts perform in elections. And before we drew our maps, we carved the map out of part of current District 9 and called it District 10. Map X, our map is Z, our map I, and possibly our map F or our map E. Those maps strongly suggest the creation of that district in the south side.
Mr. Flores, if you
And
please conclude your remarks.
I'm sorry?
If you would please complete your remarks. One last sentence, sir. We're under a tight 3-minute limit, but go ahead and finish.
Okay. Okay, somewhere between those maps or a combination of them is what will result in a good, strong Hispanic Opportunity District, and I ask you to do that for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Appreciate you being succinct and wrapping up. All right, next speaker, City Secretary. Madam Secretary. All right, now we go to our next phone call. Madam Secretary.
One moment.
I guess we don't hear the dial tone.
No, we're waiting.
Okay. And we're doing everything. We're doing phones.
Mr. Avitia,
Yes.
you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Avitia, welcome. This is Chairman Espino of the Redistricting Task Force. You have 3 minutes, sir. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, task force members. My name is Ricardo Avitia. I'm a member of District 9 in South Fort Worth, Texas. And I believe it's time for the Hispanics in South Side of Fort Worth to have a voice in our government, in our city government. And I speak in support of the creation of a Hispanic Opportunity District in the South Side. I am in favor of Mr. Flores' map. And that's really all I have for you guys tonight. I'm supportive of the Hispanic Opportunity District in District 9 in South Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you all for your time, and thank you all for the work that you've all been doing. I really appreciate it as a resident of Fort Worth.
Thank you, Mr. Avitia. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. All right, next up is Mr. Rusty Fuller.
Mr. Fuller,
Speaking.
you have 3 minutes. Go
Welcome,
ahead, sir.
Mr. Fuller. Go ahead and begin your remarks. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the task force for all the work you're having to go through and all of the data and consequences of what you're up to is mind-boggling. Appreciate what you're doing. I don't have any more information than we had last time. I was hoping to see the Minority Opportunity District results so that we could better comment on the maps, but that's still coming. So let me just reiterate that the North Fort Worth Alliance, which represents 27,000 homes up here, really supports the not breaking up neighborhoods. The neighborhoods have issues, and the neighborhoods need to have representation to handle those issues. So for us up here, we think that the neighborhood lines that we've suggested, at least for the districts above the loop, are the best. So thank you very much, and good luck in the rest of your deliberations.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Have a good evening. Next up is Nancy Woods.
Ms. Woods,
Yes,
you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Welcome, Ms. Woods. You have the
thank
floor.
you. Hello, my name is Nancy Woods, and my address is 3208 Browning Court. I'm a 40-year resident of the Riverside area, and the Riverside community has been divided among 3 separate council districts since 1977. The citizens of Riverside would like to be unified within one city council district, and with the addition of 2 city council districts, we feel this would be the best opportunity to reach our goal. 6 of the 7 maps you are considering will meet our objective. Map I is the only map that does not have Riverside unified within one city council district. I respectfully ask the task force not to choose map I for consideration to the city council. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments, and you have a good evening. Thank you so much.
You too.
Appreciate it. All right, next up is Adrian Smith.
Mr. Smith?
Interesting. I like his weight tone. It's all right. Patience is a virtue.
Mr. Smith?
We are having technical difficulties at this moment.
Okay, 1 second.
Appreciate everyone's patience.
All right, I'm putting you on right now, so give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, you are on with council.
Mr. Smith.
Greetings to all. Hello, hello. Greetings to all.
You have 3 minutes, sir.
All right, thank you. Greetings to all. Let me first begin by giving a shout out to Council Member Jared Williams, my friend Kerry Hines of Let's Talk Fort Worth, and City Secretary Representative Melissa Bruner for what they've contributed in seeing today's process through. Fort Worth is becoming a city that many desire to call home. Although the welcome mat is out, there is still a great amount of dust that needs cleaning off. The dust I speak of is political, class status, economical consideration, and anything that will keep us from truly shining. The redistricting we find ourselves in will either strengthen the overall resolve for our city or break the very spirit that has allowed us to make it this far. This shouldn't be about politics, class status, personal entitlements, or enrichment. There's enough here for everyone to make their lives better, and we must do what's necessary for ensuring this. If nothing else, the voter wave of 2021 should have given notice that we, the people, don't want to continue forward with the same old, same old. In closing, with the same growth that's happening because of flight from cities throughout the nation, the homelessness of families and individuals is on the uprise. For those who will make the final decision regarding this change, use your heart for what is right and don't allow pride to become your fall. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. You have a great evening. Thank you. Next up is Wendy Roach.
Gonna know it's on, no?
We can all hear you right now.
Ma'am, welcome. This
Oh,
is
lovely.
Chair.
Thank you.
This
Thank you
is-
very much. Thank you for taking my call tonight. I was calling in particularly about a concern on map I, because I live in the historic side of Riverside, and map I splits the district, it splits our area in between two districts of in between Belknap and 121, leaving a sliver out. In that sliver is our brand new Welcome to Riverside signs, and the district or the area of Riverside, of the historic Riverside, is in another district. And it's very important to us to have the same representation that is a block that represents us, represents our gateways into our community. We are a growing community that has obviously received new development opportunities, and we need to consolidate that and keep it together. So that was my main concern tonight. The only other concern that I saw that there was two maps, and I'm sorry, now I don't have the information in front of me because I thought I spoke earlier and I didn't. But there are two other maps that are under consideration that were so definitive in separating east from west on I-35, and I think that is a mistake. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your effort and all of the accumulative hours you have spent on this.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, for your comments. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. Next up is George Fillon.
All right, I'm gonna put you through right now, okay?
Okay. Welcome. This is Chairman Espino of the Redistricting Task Force. You have 3 minutes to speak. And sir, thank you for signing up to speak. And you have the floor. 3 minutes, sir. We welcome your comments.
Thank you so much. My name is George D. Fillon, and my address is 3313 Hedrick Street, Fort Worth, Texas, 76111, located in Bonnie Brae area of Greater Riverside. I am president of the Bonnie Brae Neighborhood Association and wish to voice my opinion regarding this redistricting process. I believe in the concept of commonalities within communities whereby folk have the same needs, goals, and aspirations for future growth and development should be first and foremost when it comes to the drawing of boundaries for the proposed council district. Past council districting that have kept certain communities from achieving the outcomes that our residents desire, past and present, should put us on notice that such practices will no longer be accepted as common and acceptable. The Riverside community desires to be of one unified voice in our future outcomes as opposed to three separate council folk with their own individual agendas or neighborhood outcome expectations. I therefore must request that the Riverside Alliance boundaries, specifically the 76111 zip code, be allowed to be one council district, representative of each and all of our community members. This would be of mutual benefit for the city of Fort Worth and our community because it would allow for a representative to voice his or her concern from the perspective of our commonality and our community as it aligns with the goals of the city of Fort Worth and thus allows for a global view from other folk within our city. As previously mentioned, this council district encompasses the 76111 zip code in its entirety. The U.S. Postal Service got this right, and now so can you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fillon, for your comments. Appreciate them. Have a good evening, sir. All right, I think that concludes all of our phone comments by phone. I want to thank all the people here in the audience in person. So now we're going to begin with a combination of in-person and WebEx. So we're going to begin with Mr.
Chairman Espino?
Yes. Was there one more
Sorry
call?
to interrupt you.
Yes.
I'm going to first from the telephone crowd.
Okay.
I do have one public. This is Dr. Paul Wilson from the North, President of Sunglen at Fossil Creek HOA. I attended your previous task force meeting. Thank you so much for hearing me previously. I'm here with the same support of the multi-neighborhood working group and community leaders, 60,000 member residents in North Fort Worth, working with Susan and Rusty from the North Fort Worth Alliance and Parkland. It's important to us that our neighborhood remain in the same representation district as Summerfield, Parkland, Fossil Park, and so on, all of which share similar issues related to development, emergency services, and transportation. We are functionally one large community and submitted a request to be recognized as a community of interest. I don't know what the resolution on that was, but we also have sent a letter recently, yesterday I believe, confirming our support for maps M, Q, U, X in no particular order, as they're satisfactorily meeting our goals of contiguous neighborhood representation, and we are grateful they're being considered. And that's all I have to say to you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wilson. My apologies. My sign-up sheet was a little bit different, but thank you for your comments. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Anyone else on phone? Okay. All right, now we move to my list, and the first in-person speaker is Mr. Rick Herring of the Riverside Alliance. Mr. Herring, you have the floor.
Good evening, Chairman Espino and task force members. I'm Rick Herring, moderator for the Riverside Alliance, 1801 Bolton in Fort Worth in the Riverside community. And I know you're tired of seeing me, but I feel like I must take every available opportunity to advocate for my community and what we're trying to accomplish during this redistricting process. As you've heard from others and will continue to hear, our community has been divided among 3 council districts since the inception of single-member districts in 1977. Riverside leaders and residents have lobbied to be unified within one city council district in each of the last 3 districting processes following 1990, 2000, and 2010 censuses. So this is our 4th time to request that Riverside be unified within one city council district. With the addition of 2 council districts, we feel like this is the best opportunity and perhaps the last that we will have to achieve this objective. And we are very pleased and gratified that 6 of the 7 maps you're considering meet our objectives. And if we were asked to rank our choices, they would probably be map X and map Z would rise to the top. But again, the others, with the exception of one, do meet our objectives. And I believe maps X and Z were the 2 top choices in your initial scoring when you went through that exercise. Only one map, and that is map I, does not have Riverside unified within one city council district. Map I divides Riverside into 2 council districts, with the boundary between the districts being East Belknap Street, which is a major thoroughfare through our community. This division divides a significant portion of the Riverside community and also divides 2 very active and long-standing neighborhood associations. It would cut right through the middle of them, which I believe is contrary to the criterion that the task force has adopted, and that was, I believe, one of the high priority criteria. So that would be a pretty drastic effect for us. We respectfully request that the task force not choose map I as the map you will recommend to City Council for their consideration. Thank you for your service on the task force and for this opportunity to speak to you once again this evening, and for all the time you've spent on this, because I know you really have. And just on a side note, Ms. Boyd, it was so nice to see you on the panel discussion today for the proposed African American Museum in Fort Worth. That's a great project, and it was very exciting to hear all the plans about that. So I was happy to see all those folks there. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Appreciate your comments. Next up, Mr. Bob Willoughby. Sir, you have the floor. Come on up. Welcome.
My name is Willoughby, and I'm advertising in the Fort Worth Weekly a half-page ad on the first Wednesday of the month about the city. Because our mayor and council took our rights away to speak here, so I'm speaking in here till I run out of money at $500 a whack. It won't be long. This thing is a scam, and I want to tell you why it's a scam. Proposition 2, they will not talk about. For 5 years, I've asked to put on the ballot and on billboards, Proposition 2. When the charter was passed in 15 to add 2 more council members, it was not advertised. No one knows about it. What good is a ballot when people don't know about it? It passed on less than 1%. We're adding 2 council members on less than 1%. My big argument is we got over 900,000 people don't have a clue. And if anybody wants to patronize and go forward without letting those people know, it's shameful. It's self-centered. I hear people talking about, it sounds racist when you want council members to make an area for Hispanics. It sounds racist. I don't care if you're blue, green, black, white, or what. You're going to be a citizen of Fort Worth. We all are a citizen of Fort Worth, not pockets all together. Or get out. That's not my city. My city don't care about race or gender. Mine cares about honesty, which we do not have here. And the reason why, if you go to my website, fwdistrict5.com, fwdistrict5.com, you'll see videos of the task force chair, Ray Miller, lying to us, flat lying. They say transparency. They want everybody to know. This could be put on the ballot and on billboards and see, and they're scared to do it because people will vote against 2 more council members. It will get vote down. So city council get their way, it's best not to tell anybody. Keep it quiet. And that's what you're doing. I just don't want crookedness. I'm tired of the corruption in this city. It's sickening. I don't care if we put 2 more or not, but everybody should know about it. And they keep going on and saying, we're so transparent and we want everybody to know. That's a lie. Put it on the ballot, put it on billboards, and let the people decide. You were on the last task force meeting. I don't like this at all. We got District 2 council member. We got council members on this task force. It's just not right, period, okay? I'm sorry. And you know it's not right, and you know it will fail. That's why you won't do it. Now, you can spend money to put billboards up saying, welcome to Fort Worth, the modern West, to invite people in to cater to the builders that you're selling us out to. But you won't put any billboards up saying redistrictizing.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby, for your comments.
Thank you for your time.
All right. I gave Mr. Willoughby latitude, but please direct your comments to the subject matter and refrain. It is democracy. He has a right to speak his mind, but let's refrain from personal attacks and let the record reflect that I'm not an elected city council member. I was a former city council member. I'm a private citizen, just like everyone else, all right? And I'm just here presiding as a moderator over the meeting. And the Proposition 2 he was speaking of, I believe was when the Citizen Forward voted to go to 10-1 in a free and fair election, okay? So let's move on. Next up, by WebEx is Mr. Pablo Calderon.
On?
Yes, sir. Welcome, Mr. Calderon. You have 3 minutes, and we have a slide of a map. So you have 3 minutes, sir. You have the floor. Welcome.
Pablo Calderon, currently in Meadowbrook, District 8. I've lived in Northside. I voted for Zapata and Espino, but also Jim Lane. Here in District 8, I voted for Kathleen Hicks and Kelly Allen Gray. Redistricting criteria says do not consider incumbents place of residence. Suspecting otherwise, maps X, Z, and I do not pair incumbents in any district. Map M pairs Beck and Firestone in District 9. Maps Q and U pair Crane and Beck in District 9, plus Bivens and Nettles in District 8. Uncoupling will require more than minor adjustments. Fort Worth is over 60% minority. Hispanics a third, African Americans 20%. Greatest minority growth is in Southeast, South, and Southwest, where a new district should be created. This first map is actually the map submitted by the United Hispanic Council. I'm not a member, but I am an amigo. District 2, you'll see, has Northside and Riverside together. The new Southside District in Burgundy begins at downtown and goes south past 820. Next map is X. You'll see that the new Southside District, Brown, has Berry Street as its northern boundary and moves south to the city limits on both sides of I-35. District 2, the light green, uses the Riverside Alliance boundary to stop at Gateway Park, where District 5, yellow, begins. I had to add population north of 820 around the southern end of Saginaw to meet deviation requirements. Next map is Q. You'll see that District 2, light green, extends northward to areas beyond, on the east of Saginaw and up northwestwardly between Saginaw and Haslett. Map Q, M, and U all have this long rectangle north of 820. Notice dark green, District 8, splitting I-35, and Nettles lives at the southwest extreme corner of District 8.
Go ahead and finish up, Mr. Calderon.
Maps M, Q, and U each add about 25,000 to the 8,000 already that we have in north of 820. With the city projection that growth will be 50% plus by 2030, this puts in jeopardy the currently Hispanic district. Did you say I'm out of time?
Yes, sir. Just one last sentence and conclude, please.
2 maps placing Como in District 9 and District 6. I ran out of time to show you, but the effort was there.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon, for your comments. Appreciate it. If you have any additional comments, you can email like everyone else to Fernando Costa, fernando.costa@forwardtexas.gov. Thank you. Man, getting confused on email addresses. All right. Next up Mr. Wilson already spoke, right? City staff. So next up by WebEx is Susan Kenny of the Parkland Neighborhood Association. Do we have Ms. Kenny on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair Espino and the task force members. I'm Susan Kenny, the president of the Parkland Neighborhood Association. I just want to summarize what I stated at the last meeting. We're a neighborhood of approximately 10,000 residents, and it's very important to us that we remain in one city council district. We're also part of a neighborhood working group of the big neighborhoods up here in our area, of which we share similar concerns with. We represent 60,000 residents, and maps X, Q, M, and U meet our needs of all our neighborhoods up here, making up our neighborhood working group, and we're grateful that they're being considered. And we thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kenny, for your comments. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. Next up, in person, Tim Boschko. I hope I pronounced that right, and correct me when you come to the podium. My apologies.
Hello, it's Tim Boyko.
Boyko.
J as a Y, yes, thank you. Well, task force members, I appreciate you inviting me and listening to my comments. I first want to express my appreciation for all the hard work that each of you are doing to make sure we have effective council maps serving us, the residents of Fort Worth, so thank you for that. I spend most of my time in District 6, and when thinking about creating the new councilperson districts that will represent us, I believe it is a top priority to ensure that the new district boundaries do not split up our neighborhoods. Having unified neighborhoods in a district makes it easier for us to bring forward comprehensive community plans and goals to keep each of our neighborhoods vibrant. As I reviewed the 7 maps that were selected, it looks like map Q is really the only one that splits only one community of interest, and that is 57 if I understand all the maps and data correctly. And COI 57 does cover a very large geographical area, so I'd understand that having a natural split, but all of the other neighborhoods appear to be intact. Of this map, I do believe that is the one that prioritizes the unifying of our neighborhoods to keep them represented by a single council person. Thank you once again for allowing me to share my comments, and thank you for your service to this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. I've been asked to remind everyone in the public and in the audience that any comments submitted to Fort Worth Connection at forwardtexas.gov, we have received a lot of comments online, and rest assured this task force will read every single comment as we move forward to consider recommended map to council. So I want to remind the task force that we have comments in front of us. Also in front of us is another presentation by Mr. Schur on the maps that he recommends, and we'll talk about those obviously at when we get down to the deliberation on maps. But to the public and to everyone here today and watching on WebEx and that's heard by phone, we also have a lot of online comments. So with that, we'll continue to move on. Next speaker after me is Libby Willis. Libby, welcome. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good evening. I take it my 3 minutes starts now, not
Yes,
from when
ma'am.
I started walking.
Correct,
Thank
correct,
you.
correct.
I'm Libby Willis. I live at 2300 Primrose in Riverside, and I'm a past president of the Elkhurst Neighborhood Association. Tonight, I'm here representing the Willis family, which has lived in Riverside for 75 years. Fort Worth doubled its size in 1922, exactly 100 years ago this year. We celebrate the annexation of all these areas: Polytechnic, Diamond Hill, Rosen Heights, Washington Heights, Meadowbrook, Arlington Heights, including Como, and wait for it, Riverside. For 150 years, Riverside has been one place. We were annexed as Riverside. After decades of Riverside being divided among 3 different council districts, it's time to honor the identity of Riverside by putting all of it in one city council district. Riverside and its redevelopment deserve the attention of one city council member in one council district. I'm opposed to any council district map, including map I, which divides any part of Riverside at Belknap and divides it from the rest of Riverside. Support all the maps, which include all of the neighborhoods of Riverside in Riverside. You will note that, and I have spoken there, the trustee district maps that have been drawn for the Fort Worth ISD, all of them that are under consideration include all of the neighborhoods of Riverside together in one trustee district. It's time for the city of Fort Worth to do the same. It's time to honor the history and bring us all back together in one city council district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Willis, for your comments. Appreciate them. All right, next up is Ms. Ella Burton, President of the Lake Como Neighborhood Advisory Council and Como Community Leaders Council. Please come up, and when you start speaking, you will have 3 minutes from the time you start. Welcome, ma'am. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Do we get additional moments for having 10 or more like you do in City Council?
Do you have 10 folks?
We do. We certainly do.
All right. Well, take 10 minutes if that's what you need.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and share with you. I believe the map that was submitted by Como is T. Though we've not had the opportunity to stand before you, I do want you to know we've not been silent, even though we've not been present. We worked aggressively to go through that software to present a map. I've got my comrades with me, the Comoites, if you'll receive them as that will actually speak to those maps that have been, or the map that's been crafted for us. I just want to take a stance as the Como community leader that it is imperative that Como be a minority opportunity district. We are claiming that. We're standing here for it. Our position must be heard, and we want to be served. So again, we've got those. I'm going to give my minutes back, if you will, so that they can actually share with you from the maps. And if you've got questions of them, you can address them, since we've not had an opportunity to be in your presence before. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Give my time back.
All right. Again, with I guess with Como is Dorothy DeBose, followed by Leon Reed of Como, and also Kenneth Jones Jr. of Como. Just when you come up to the podium, state your name and speak your mind.
Good afternoon. I'm Dorothy DeBose, and I live at 5713 Humbert. And I'm here tonight to support the Como map that was submitted. If that is not selected, I just want to ask that we be included in a minority opportunity district. We've gone through a lot of redistricting. Our little neighborhood has been right there fighting all the time to be heard. And I will say we have been heard. But at this opportunity, we would like to be in a district. Our community is no longer 100% Black. We now have about 25, 30% Hispanic. So we're asking to be included in a minority opportunity district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bose. Leon Reed Jr., followed by Kenneth Jones Jr., also with Como.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The central principle of redistricting is grounded in one man, one vote. That one vote is our equalizer. When Walsh Ranch was woods and weeds, Como was there and we voted. When Highway 377 was pecan trees and plains, Como was there and we voted. And when Clear Fork was a cow field, Como was there and we voted. Our voting history is central to Como's identity with the city of Fort Worth, to the degree that Como has the only neighborhood advisory council recognized by the city of Fort Worth. Now our votes are threatened to be further weakened. And I say further because Como already took a hit at the state level when Como was moved from District 90, a district in which we had a close working relationship with our state representative, to District 99, which is comprised of residents with whom we share substantially less interest. With that in mind, it is our position that Como must be moved into a minority opportunity district to keep our votes from being watered down to near nothingness. That is why we drew our map T, the way we did. District 3 reaches further west and south, encompassing much of the same area that House District 99 covers, and with the same residents who have less in common with the residents of Como. Remaining in District 3 would see the percentage of African Americans of voting age in the low teens. Moving to District 6 would see that number jump to approximately 33%. Or moving to District 9 would give us the opportunity of being in a district that shares substantially similar voting patterns. It is time to define a new Fort Worth way, one of equality, opportunity for all of its residents. Fort Worth's district lines should allow for our council members to be reflective of our population, which is majority minority. And that could be accomplished by the following. One, ensure Como is in a minority opportunity district. Ensure that the historic South Side remains in District 8. Ensure that Stop 6 and Lake Arlington remain in District 5. Ensure that North Crowley feeder patterns remain in District 6. Ensure that the North Side remains an opportunity district for our Latinx brothers and sisters, and ensure that an opportunity district is added on the East Side for the Latino community that unites Poly and Riverside. And I would gladly say and let the good people of Riverside know that our map does not split their community. It is time that the citizens elect our officials, and it's past time that the officials stop electing us.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, for your comments. Next up again with Como, Mr. Kenneth Jones Jr. Welcome, sir. Senior pastor.
Yes.
Welcome, pastor.
My name is Pastor Kenneth Jones Jr., the proud pastor of Como First Missionary Baptist Church. And I want to thank you, Mr. Espino, and this Redistricting Task Force for your time and commitment to this process. The city of Fort Worth since 2015 has been a minority-majority city, as you've already mentioned, 40%. And we have not had sufficient minority representation on the city council that reflects the demographics. My hope this time is that we get it right. As a leader of the proud Como community, Como in the last 25 years, as I've been the leader of the church, we've been a part of District 3, we've been a part of District 7. We've run credible, qualified candidates, but have never been able to elect a minority candidate. That's why the Como community wants to be a part of a minority opportunity district. And we believe that District 6 currently represented by Dr. Jared Williams, best serves our community interests in MAP T. As Attorney Leon Reed says, in our map, the VAP for African Americans is 33.7, Latinos 25.3. Also has just been mentioned, Pablo Caldera also has mentioned that he has a map that also places Como potentially in 6. We're aware that there has been some discussions of Como being considered to be moved into District 9, where currently Elizabeth Beck is the city council person. We heard that with Pablo Caldera. What we're saying simply, and what I want to say simply, is that I hope this task force will present a map to the city council that will provide 6 minority opportunity districts for our future 10-member district council that would best represent the city of Fort Worth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Okay, I was remiss earlier, in addition to the comments from the Fort Worth Connection and a PowerPoint from Mr. Schur, we also have a letter from Mr. Bruce Miller of Citizens for Independent Redistricting that was submitted. We'll also take that under advisement along with all the comments submitted by email. With that, we continue to move forward. Next up is Tara Wilson. Ms. Wilson, you will come up. You will have 3 minutes once you start speaking. Welcome, and appreciate you being here.
Would it be possible to have map T put up for display? It's the Como map. Yeah. Hi, I would like to thank you all for your service. I know this is a volunteer opportunity, and there's so much information to wade through. My name is Tara Wilson. I live currently in the current boundaries of District 4. And in the spirit of true transparency, I will say that I am currently running in a special election for City Council District 4, and I did run in that district in the last municipal cycle and had the opportunity to walk and knock all the communities of interest of Carter Riverside in the far north areas of District 4. I was very clear and passionate about the fact that far north District 4 and the inner part of District 4 had a lot of different competing needs. And so I'm here tonight to be in support of not only the far north District 4 communities of interest and wanting to give them their own district so that they can have a council person that can focus on the needs and the focus of what's been going on up there, but also to bring down and keep Carter Riverside also intact as well. The point of the census data and following that is to honor the growth that it shows us and also honor the diversification that it displays to us. I believe that map T, with some tweaks, as Chairman Espino spoke to in the last task force meeting, can not only keep the north parts of District 4 together and intact in their own district, can also then put Carter Riverside together and intact, but then also honor and keep intact the communities of Stop 6, which would be broken up in a lot of the adopted maps that are on the final 7, which they want to stay in District 5. I believe that with map T, if we made the District 10 the far north boundary of, it's going to be Keller Hicks Road across the Ray White Road and 377 down to Fossil Creek, that'll create new District 10. And then coming down, making 35 the far west boundary of the new 4, coming all the way down to Rosedale to pick up historic South Side, going across Rosedale to pick up Poly, and also going up Miller to Oakland and then across Lancaster, will then also put Meadowbrook in one solid district as well. And then following the rest of the boundaries that are there in that blue that would represent the new boundaries of District 4. So as I think it was Ms. Kennedy who said in the last meeting that she believes that the goal of the task force is to try to build a map that's fair for all of Fort Worth. And also, it's important to note that bringing District 2 across 35 dilutes that Hispanic minority district from a 70% voter block to about 60%, which also goes against the desire of Hispanic communities in Fort Worth, but bringing down 4 to pick up Poly, historic South Side, and the rest of it would also actually create a Hispanic district if we were to follow those boundary lines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Appreciate your comments. Next up is Bishop Kenneth Spears. Mr. Spears, welcome. Appreciate you being here, Bishop. Always a pleasure, sir.
I would say good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me an opportunity to share. I really want to appreciate, of course, the task force for the job that you're doing. We in terms of Fort Worth, the county, and of course, even in the state of Texas, over the last few years, we've been in some strained places. And I think that the task force, as it relates to the city, has an opportunity to get it right. So I want to encourage you today that as we're preparing, we can create equity, I believe, in our city, and that we can make sure, as someone has said, that we have fair opportunities for communities. So I come before you asking that you would keep our communities in mind, particularly as you make decisions as a leader across Fort Worth, not just Berry Hill, First St. John Cathedral. I serve in different capacities. Over the years, we've gotten people engaged in the voting process. The numbers have picked up tremendously in our city, particularly in those areas. We've elected officials and, of course, advocated great participation across the line and board. And so I really want to encourage us to make sure we're still putting businesses and grocery stores and transportation, improving in all of these neighborhoods. And so I want to echo what has been said, that we ensure Como is in a majority opportunity district. I want to also ensure that Stop 6 and Lake Arlington are in District 5, and then also ensure that North Crowley, that feeder pattern, remains in District 6, and really looking forward to that the North Side remains an opportunity district for the Latino community. We've got to make sure that there's a complete balance in terms of opportunity. Then, of course, ensure that those individuals that are in the Poly area, Riverside, really need to continue to be one district so that we offer fair opportunities. So I want to really appreciate all that you do. I know that this is a great task, and we've got to have some wins in our city. Over the last few months, we've had some loss in terms of our county. We've made some choices and decisions that didn't match. It seemed like there were deals or side deals that were made that didn't really consider the deals in terms of the interests of people. In our state, we're in a place where there are deals that are being made. We've got to have at least one entity in terms of government, which is the city, and we can help to get that right. And so I really appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do, and please consider these suggestions. Thanks.
Thank you, Bishop. Appreciate it very much. Next up, Erica Ramos. Welcome, Erica. Welcome, Ms. Ramos.
Good evening. I wanted to speak as a citizen of the West Byers neighborhood over in District 7 currently. We did ask to stay connected to the Arlington Heights and West 7th districts. Quite a few of the maps had us separated as they keep us with the existing District 7. So I'm here to speak in favor of maps Q and U, as those seemed to not only keep the most communities of interest together, but specifically kept ours together with those neighboring neighborhood associations that we work closely with. In addition, I wanted to speak in support of a lot of the minority communities that I think you've heard today, who are very clearly asking for a minority opportunity district. I was a little disappointed to see that some of that information wasn't made available yet, so unfortunately I don't have any comments for you. But I do feel that once that data is made available, you'll hear a lot more from this community. as far as which maps we prefer. So I feel like another opportunity should be made for citizens to speak in regards to that. The last thing I wanted to ask is that moving forward, if we could please make some of the documents a little bit easier to access. There were some issues with the announcement that was made. Maps were not linked. It was difficult to find where the maps were located. On the web page where you displayed all of the maps that were proposed, they're misnamed from what was listed in the news update that was provided. So as a citizen, it made it really hard to see and find the 7 maps you guys were considering. So I just ask that that's made a little bit easier, maybe with some hyperlinks, so that we can follow what you guys are considering. Other than that, I will rescind the rest of my time, and thank you guys so much for all the work you're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Appreciate your comments, and definitely will direct city staff to make better the links so citizens have better access to the maps and demographic data. All right, moving forward, Michael Brooks with the Southside Community Garden. Michael Brooks.
Good evening. First, I want to thank the committee for its dedication to this process and for including citizens in this work. It's extremely important. Redistricting is one of the most important functions of city government. Historically, as you know, Fort Worth had no voting districts, and as a result, Fort Worth had no diversity in city government. Single-member districts were adopted in the 1970s when I was in high school, and minority representation in government did significantly improve. That increased representation translated into more minority influence in city government and more equitable treatment of minority communities. Minority participation in the political process, including voting, also significantly improved as a result because disenfranchised citizens now felt like they had a reason to vote. So the drawing of voting districts is a very key component of preserving voting rights. It's so important because voting is most meaningful only if it translates into representation. And this process should be all about ensuring equitable representation. As we all know, Fort Worth is a majority minority city, as several speakers have mentioned, but that diversity is not reflected in city government. That underrepresentation has resulted in growing inequities, including the fact that residents of 76104 have the lowest life expectancy in the state. The north side, near south side, Como, Southeast Fort Worth, all have fallen behind in terms of economic development, education, housing, while the Alliance Corridor, Southwest Fort Worth, and other areas have exploded in development over the years. These inequities must change, but change only comes with action. And I know you as the committee, you understand our concerns and you're taking them to heart. I'm not really familiar with all of the specific proposed maps, so I'm not here to advocate for any particular one. However, as Bishop Spears and a couple other speakers have mentioned, there are certain key points that must be included. Como should remain a minority opportunity district. Historic South Side must remain in District 8. Stop 6 must remain in District 5. The North Side should, of course, remain a minority opportunity district, but there also should be a minority opportunity district created in the Poly and Riverside area where there's a significant Hispanic population. The North Crowley feeder pattern must remain. And above all, historically disenfranchised voters must have power and influence in city government. I know my time is short, so I'll end here, but the only other thing I want to say is I do believe that this committee has all these interests at heart. I am a little discouraged by some of the things that have come out of our city government recently, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate them. You have a good evening. Next up is Sandy Russell. Please come up to the podium, Ms. Russell, and you have the floor.
Hello.
Welcome, Ms. Russell.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Sandy Martinez Russell. I am a Fort Worth native who grew up in the south side of Fort Worth. I am accompanied by Sandra Garcia Acevedo, who also grew up in the south side and also a community advocate as myself. I recently lived there again in District 9 for almost a year and currently live in District 6. I am here today because I attended training on the software. I attended training to support on the support sessions, and through my Leadership for Work class group created a map. Although it is not one of the ones that was selected to be considered, I think it's important to address some of the key points and thoughts that came to me as a Hispanic native. Fort Worth has grown and will continue to grow for many years to come. I know many have fought for adding seats to our city council, and a committee was formed. I thank the many that have put the many hours into in order to have a transparent process, and I thank you all for your time this evening as I voice my opinions. Our current council consists of 4 white, 3 African American, and one Hispanic. Our minority population is over 50%, with Hispanics, according to the 2020 census, being comprised of 35% of the city's population, yet that diversity is not represented in our city councils. As Fort Worth continues to grow, the addition of 2 new council districts this year provides a rare and timely opportunity to create a second Hispanic Opportunity District, which better reflects the diversity of the residents of Fort Worth. We ask that this task force be mindful of recommending a map to City Council that provides an equitable, inclusive, minority representation for all races across the city, which will allow for a fair representation from the local level. This is why I believe we support map X and Z. These are the only 2 maps that actually provide a realistic path for creating the second Hispanic Opportunity District. So in addition to District 2, these maps all propose a new district in the south side, which I am proud to say is where I grew up. I support these maps because it will allow a good percentage of Hispanic and similar socioeconomic neighborhoods to be grouped together in one district. These maps allow for Hispanics to have a voice without compromising the voice of others. The Hispanic population has grown, yet I have never seen anyone that looks like me or the students I used to serve in that district as an educator in the South Side. I know every vote counts, especially when the voter turnout for local elections is not as high as we would like it all to be. But for the many that do vote, I ask that you all consider these 2 maps because the Hispanic population has been underrepresented for so long. It starts from the top with these map recommendations that we are asking you to consider. I look forward to seeing more than one person that looks like me representing one of the areas that is near and dear in heart to me. And it is my wish to someday see the same representation trickling down to the city boards and commissions. Thank you for your commitment to our city. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Appreciate your comments. I've been advised that next speaker up, Sandra Garcia Acevedo, agrees with the comments made by Ms. Russell and joins in her comments and does not wish to speak publicly. Is that correct, Ms. Garcia Acevedo? All right. Just want to make sure everyone has the right to speak. This is a public hearing and it's your hearing. All right. But let the record reflect that Sandra Garcia Acevedo agrees with the comments made by Ms. Sandy Russell. All right. Moving on. Next speaker is Thomas Torlincasi. Please correct my mispronunciation. If I mispronounce it, I apologize.
Mr. Chair and task force members, you got pretty close, Chairman. I wanted to expand especially on the good bishop's comments and make a point about the rare opportunity we have for the next 10-year block. Fort Worth has to get its power back. And by that I mean, we've heard the words equity and unity a lot, and those are the things that our neighbors and our neighborhoods care about. We certainly need a Hispanic Opportunity District south of Berry Street, and probably a handful of the other districts need to reflect more closely that Fort Worth is a majority city. But look what's happened to all of us. If you love Fort Worth, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what you look like or who you love or what you believe. The suburbs have sliced us up. You only have the responsibility of redistricting the city of Fort Worth. But the more power you give our neighborhoods,
the more unity and cohesiveness that you apply to this process, the less often that the county commissioners court can slice Fort Worth up and disenfranchise it. The less often the Texas legislature can slice us into legislative districts where neither white, black, Hispanic, or other Fort Worthians have a say in our government. That goes on to include the congressional districts. If you haven't noticed, a few of the congressional districts shifted, and 3 new congressional districts have taken parts of our Fort Worth neighbors as their own. So the key here is, don't be too worried about some of the seated city council members being in the same districts that you create. If you're going to be a citizen-based panel, you need to be mindful of what the people are telling you, because we, the people, have been disenfranchised at every level, and we need you to give us our vote power back by creating those 10 districts that reflect what Fort Worth really looks like and what we care about.
Your comments. Next up, Daniela Serrano. Ms. Serrano, if you're here, you have the floor. Daniela Serrano. Okay, she's not here in person. Is she on WebEx? No? I will come back and I'll make a final plea after we finish with our speakers. John McClellan. Next up, John McClellan. Come on up, sir, and you have the floor. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Task Force. Appreciate you inviting me here. I agree with that last person said, 100%, because I'm new here, not totally new, but I'm not originally from Fort Worth, but I've been here for at least 20 years, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around your districts between your, the city and the counties and so forth, and so I'm learning as I go. I did look at the maps, the 7 that y'all picked, and the ones that I thought were considered was X and T. Z was 3rd, but that's my opinion. I don't know all the geographic areas of the population, so I really can't put a lot of meat to my statements. But from what I was looking at the past old map and this one, those are ones that still kind of tweaked a little bit, but didn't really hurt too many people, except from what I'm hearing from certain people that were split like Riverside. I wasn't aware of that. But the big thing is that you need to consider all the districts and the powers that they need, whether they need economic development in certain areas. But the biggest thing I really want to see out of that is that, and I don't know if you have power on it as a city council people, but I'm really concerned about your zoning and your permits. I've seen signs go up, even where I lived at, where they put signs up and they got numbers, and I have a hard time trying to figure out whether it's multifamily, whether it's single residence, whether it's commercial. It doesn't link me nowhere when I look at your website. So I wish y'all think about trying to make it easier, so whatever you put up there, either you write multifamily down, or if you got a number, I should be able to link it and go directly to see what that developer is trying to do before y'all approve it. And that's my biggest concern. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Next up, Miss Naomi Dillard. Miss Dillard.
I'm not a great speech writer. This is just from my heart.
Just make sure the mic is up there so everyone can hear you, both online, on TV, and here in the chamber. Thank you so much, Ms. Dillard. You have 3 minutes from the moment you start speaking. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Naomi Dillard. I reside at 3501 Primrose Avenue. My husband and I have lived in Fort Worth for 18 years. Most of that time we have lived on Primrose. I'm very involved in Carter Riverside Neighborhood Association. As a CRNA member, we have attended different city town hall meetings and asked for different needs. Riverside Rec Center is so small and old that it needs to be remodeled or added onto. There is only one room that is suitable for a meeting of 50 people. We have scheduling problems quite frequently. Our pool was demolished years ago. The play equipment is old and could be added to or designed to include more children at a time. We would like to have a pool or a splash pad for the hot summers. We have asked the city many times what we are getting with the bond money or extra money that has built pools and new rec centers. They say that we don't get any bond money because we are not the worst area of the city. We are also not the best in the city where there is a lot of new growth. We are in the middle, and they said we don't make enough noise, squeaky wheel noise. If we don't have all of our Riverside neighbors in one council district, how can we have a big footprint or a big voice? So we can work together in one direction instead of having several smaller voices. We haven't been in one council district since 1977. Please give us our united voice back. We want Riverside to be in one council district. Therefore, Riverside cannot support MAP I. Thank you, and I do appreciate very much everyone who talked that Riverside should be one district. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Dillard. Appreciate them. Next up, and per my sign-up sheet, this is the last speaker here by WebEx, Ken Hicks. Mr. Hicks, you have the floor, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Espino, and thank you to the task force. My name is Ken Hicks. I reside at 1801 Bolton Street here in Fort Worth in the Riverside community, and I am the immediate past president of the Carter Riverside Neighborhood Association. In the interest of time and respect for everyone's time, I will keep this brief and simply reiterate what you all have heard from quite a few residents of Riverside, and that is that we would like to be unified within one council district. As you know, Riverside has been divided among 3 districts since 1977, when single member districts came about. It is nice to see that 6 of the 7 maps that you are considering meet the objective of Riverside residents to be unified. However, there is one, which has been stated quite a few times tonight, one map that does not have Riverside unified, and that is map I. And so I respectfully request that the task force not choose map I as the map you would recommend to council. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Appreciate it. All right, so I'll do one last call for Daniela Serrano. Ms. Serrano, if you're in the audience or by WebEx, you were signed up to speak. Going once, going twice. All right. Ms. Serrano, if you're listening, or if not, again, everyone can send their comments to, to Fernando Costa, Fernando, Costa, Costa, at Fort Worth, Texas, all spelled out, .gov. All right, that concludes our public comments at this public hearing. I want to thank all of you that have participated in person, by phone, or WebEx. I do want to tell you that we do have another meeting of the task force, which is going to be the hardest one, because from the 26 maps to the 23 to the ones that we have narrowed down for additional comment, we're going to have to narrow it down to 1 and recommend that to the council, and then there'll be a public process within the council. Again, these are all public meetings. So the next meeting we're going to have for now is Monday, January the 24th at 2 p.m. at City Hall, room 2020, where the task force will discuss proposed maps and attempt to select an initial map for city council consideration, right? So that's the next meeting of this task force on Monday, January 24th. With that then, this concludes the public comment portion of our meeting, and now we're going to go to our next item up to our agenda. Let me pull it up on my phone. I use everything electronically now, and I didn't bring my iPad, so but the iPhone shall suffice. All right, next up is confirmation or reconsideration of the January 6th decision to select certain maps for further research. I'm gonna let Fernando Costa get up and explain why this item is on the agenda, and then we'll go from there. Mr. Costa, if you're here, could you explain agenda item number 4 to the task force?
At your task force meeting on January 6th, you selected 7 maps for further research by our outside legal counsel and by our political science consultant with respect to legal compliance and opportunities and the extent to which proposed maps would create minority opportunity districts. Subsequently, we've received requests that you consider the rankings of maps from one task force member who was not able to attend your last meeting, your vice chair, Mr. Williams. He has subsequently submitted his rankings, and those rankings had the effect of changing some of the scoring, the aggregate scoring from the task force, and adding 2 maps, maps T and V, into a tie for a 3-way tie for 7th place on your aggregate rankings. Therefore, the task force may wish to consider whether to confirm the 7 maps that you selected on January 6th, or in view of the rankings from Mr. Williams, to reconsider and either reduce the number of maps to 6 maps or increase the number of maps to 9 maps so that T and V may be subject to further research as well. We have notified our outside counsel and our political science consultant, so they are aware of this possibility. And our request to them is that they provide us with their findings for whatever number of maps you decide to pursue, to provide those findings to us by next Wednesday, so that you'll have at least a few days to consider their findings in advance of your January 24th meeting.
Mr. Williams, I want to go ahead and get comments from you, and then as to the extenuating circumstances as to why you were not at the last meeting, and your feelings on adding T and V to consideration. Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Brother Chairman, and I wish to first just thank each and every one of you that I heard from during the passing of my wife. And I really appreciate the support, and I appreciate actually Fort Worth, because Fort Worth really came through for my family. And I want to just say thank you very, very much in every respect. I did have a meeting with Mr. Costa, and I did think about the things that I would like to say. I would like to add the 2 to the 7 that you had already selected, because in looking at the 2 that I wanted to add to it, T and V, I think that it would really give us a little more to think about, and really after hearing what I heard tonight, I think that this would fit right in and give us a chance to look at all 9 of the maps and the idea of what these 9 would actually mean, and then we can narrow it down. But I think that I would like to have T and V added to the 7 that you had already selected last weekend. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Williams, thank you for your comments. Thank you, Fernando. I'm of the position that the more the merrier. We have 7. I don't see any harm by adding 2 more, especially in light of Mr. Williams' rankings and also the public comments we heard today. I think T and V, having legal counsel review those and the task force reviewing these 9 maps at our next meeting, I think makes sense. Does anyone wish to comment on that with a specific objection as to why we shouldn't do that? And if you can, raise your hand. Or if you want to make any comments, I'll be happy to recognize any task force member for comment. But I do think adding T and V makes sense, but I'll be happy to hear any other comments or thoughts from any other task force member. Just raise your hand so I can see you. Ms. Hermosillo, and turn on your microphone.
Thank you. I realize there's a lot of strong points that merit some further consideration of map T. But I do want to give Mr. Schur an opportunity to talk about the handout that he provided the task force, because it actually provides, I think, a really creative and useful approach to modifying the current top ranked map, which is map X, that incorporates a key component of map T, which basically provides or helps us further think through how to incorporate Como neighborhood into this creation of a second minority opportunity district in the south side. Mr. Schur, would you like to?
Mr. Schur, if you, thank you, Ms. Hermosillo, for your comments, Mr. Schur. And again, I just want to come back to the question before, is this T and V? But go ahead, Mr. Schur, talk about the handout that you provided to the task force. And again, this is public record. If any citizen wants this, it can be provided to you upon making a records request. Go ahead, Mr. Schur.
All right, well, I agree fully with the speakers tonight who have said that we need to have no retrogression. We need to have Hispanic opportunity created. In my presentation, it's really the second slide, it would be on page 2. I was really intrigued by map T. I thought map T it is unique among the maps that we have in the manner in which it bridges Como with other substantial African American residents of Fort Worth, and gives them an opportunity to consolidate a little bit of voting power instead of being completely buried in a thoroughly white district, which is the situation as it is now. So I think it's very important that legal counsel review map T, because it has some strange shapes. Now, having said that the shapes in map T are a little bit strange, I know there were very good reasons why they were drawn the way they were. I think also that if the bridge, the Como Bridge concept is shown on map T, could be extended to other maps, and particularly the map that I thought was best, map X, and I've given my reasons in earlier meetings as to why I thought map X was really the best, and why I also supported maps Z and I. I know that map I divides the Riverside area. I don't think we're going to have that happen, and my support really is strongly for X and Z. So on retrogression, our current council is 4 white, 3 African American, 1 Hispanic. That is 50% of the population. It does follow that we need to have at least 2 solid African American opportunity districts, 1 Hispanic opportunity, extra Hispanic opportunity district added. And actually, those are not the right numbers. I'm misreading my slide. Let me just deal with Hispanic opportunity. 50% of the voting age population of a district simply is not enough to create a Hispanic opportunity district. And there are many reasons for that, one of which is that the Hispanic turnout has been historically low, and in districts in which Hispanics have been paired primarily with African Americans, they're going to get outvoted because they're simply not as well organized. And that is why it's really important to create that South Side Hispanic district. It does give an opportunity to have 2 Hispanics elected on the council. Doesn't mean it will happen. It just means that there is an opportunity there. the 8 to 10 split should not dilute minority voting strength as it is today. So we really do need to have at least 5 minority districts. I've explained on the slides the numbers. I want to point out the numbers on map X again. Map X has a District 5 that has a strong African-American plurality. It has another District 8. Again, it's paired 36.4% African-American, 47.5% Hispanic. Those 2 districts have voted in the past. They have voted for African-American candidates, and therefore there's a good opportunity there. Also in District 6, the numbers are very similar to what they are today. The African-American voting age population of that district, 31.3. So map X has 3 districts with strong African-American voting age populations.
All right, so there's no objection, Mr. Schur, for the task force to consider T and V as we narrow it down to one map, and then I will get for our next meeting clarification from staff and legal as to how much tweaking the task force can do on the maps, and then once we hear from legal counsel about minority opportunity districts and the evaluation. But the question before us is any objection to adding T and V to the 7 for further consideration by legal counsel and the task force?
Well, I'm in favor of adding them.
All right. Is there any objection to adding T and V to the 7 that we are considering? All right, because we're going to get to the merits of all these maps. You know, we've heard from the Riverside community that want to stay in one district. We've heard from the historic Como community about their concerns. We've heard from the Hispanic community about the need for a second true minority opportunity district. We've heard from the folks up north about staying together with communities of interest. So as always, we have a challenge before us to do a map that I think accommodates what I think are valid concerns by all of our citizens that have come before us asking about these maps. And then, of course, the North Crowley area where they want to go. These are all valid and legitimate concerns. So we'll have a nice discussion and debate at the next meeting, and we'll get further clarification from staff about how much tweaking we can do. But the question before us then is, and I'm not hearing any objection to T and V, so we want to, I mean, I'm of the opinion we should add them. Ms. Powell, you have a comment?
Yes, I wanted to make a comment that the only objection I do have is tweaking map X in consideration for T. T, as I stated in our discussion before, I'm not for map X. Map T is one of the top maps that I did choose, and that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, excellent point. So you're in favor of adding T and V for further consideration, and the next time we meet, we can have a further debate on which maps, you know, we tweak or which maps we support. But I hear you. What I'm hearing right now, just in front of us, any objection from anyone to adding T and V? If not, then I will entertain a motion to add T and V.
I motion for T and V to be added.
All right, the motion made, and there's a second made by Mr. Williams. Motion by Ms. Powell, second by Ms. Williams. All in favor, raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So T and V are added to that. And at this point, there's not anything pending before us. We'll meet again as a task force on the 24th. And again, we'll get clarification from staff what we can do to tweak, because we've been presented by some very good maps. There are, you know, some differences of opinion of which are the best maps. So ultimately, like any task force charged with redistricting, you know, we'd like to see some maps better than other maps, and how much tweaking, how much latitude does the task force have? That is a very important question, right? Because ultimately, these maps go to the council, and so the public is aware. The city council makes the ultimate decision on which maps they will present. We'll present a map to the council, and the council can tweak it. They can modify it. They have that prerogative under the city charter and state law, and then they'll go back out to the public. So this is not done yet. This is just all part of the normal public process, which, with all due respect to Mr. Willoughby, is transparent. It is a process that belongs to you, the citizens, residents, and taxpayers of Fort Worth. So I want to thank everyone that has participated. And again, I want to reiterate, not only did we take comments from those in person, by WebEx or by phone, but anyone that has submitted an email or a letter and you still have time to submit comments till the 24th. These are all very important, and our next meeting is obviously very critical, and there will be public comment at that meeting because these are public meetings, subject to the Texas Open Meetings Act and subject to public participation. So again, thank you for your time and appreciate y'all being here. Let's keep working together to move forward as a united and diverse city. God bless you and God bless Fort Worth. We're adjourned.